you think?
No, a lot nervous. If I lose here today, I can never go to the Olympic Games.
True.
And maybe that's for the better. Hey guys, remember the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia? You know, the one where they had that stupid blue mascot that everyone thought was a dumb idea? And sadly, the stupidity of the character isn't the worst thing to come out of the event, or even the most memorable. But before the actual Olympic Games occurred, however, Georgia, like any city hosting such a global event, had to hype it. So Atlanta, Georgia began working on trying to start their Olympic Games, but with a change in direction. You see, the Olympics are often heavily broadcast with the country or city where the event is taking place, usually with heavily influence from its own nationalistic feature. Whether it was an actual city or an animal that commonly associates with its hosting country. But Georgia, for whatever reason, wanted no longer to be within that tradition, and wanted everything to be less nationalistic and more inclusive with everything as opposed to it representing this country or city hosting it, in this case the United States. And that's where Izzy was created. Originally named What's Is It, the mascot was a blue blob creature with red sneakers, rings around his tail, I guess, lightning bolt eyebrows, and the ability to morph into sporting equipment and whatnot. Basically, his race of whatever the heck he is are the ones that make the Olympic torch light, and in order for that to happen, the spirit of the Olympic Games must be present within this torch world of... I have no idea. This didn't go well, internationally or locally. Again, because the character was stupid and really didn't have any spirit that made the Olympics, well, the Olympics. The idea of let's make everything blend together is kind of against what the Olympics is all about. The idea is that we are all different, and in competition is supposed to be a symbol of unity and brotherhood despite being of different nations. Regardless, no one liked this character. Even when he was created back in 1992, 4 years before the actual Olympic Games happened. But for whatever reason, Atlanta decided to use the character after some restructuring and changing the demographic. The largest change being really changing the focus towards children instead of adults to see if this would keep interest into the event, even if it was just for a younger demographic. As such, marketing was different than most Olympic events in the past, and since Atlanta was insistent on running with this character, a half-hour TV special called Izzy's Quest for the Olympic Gold was produced featuring the character, and as you'd expect from this YouTube channel, a couple of video games. Now, video games based on the Olympic Games is hardly a new concept, even back then. In fact, for the last several events, SEGA, with cooperation with Nintendo, have been behind the development of all the games, starring the two popular video game stars, Sonic and Mario, once bitter rivals, competing together in a friendly competition. The one we're looking at today is arguably the most well-known to the 1996 Olympic Games. Released on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, we got a platforming action game called Izzy's Quest for the Olympic Rings. As well as a PC game, we got a game called Izzy's Adventure, which was just a point-and-click adventure title. Not that it really matters either way, there's no making sense out of all this madness. Having played both the Genesis game and watching the TV special, I can tell you that while a handful of questions will be answered, it will raise many others. So enough of all that, let's just jump right into Izzy's quest for the Olympic rings. Well, I'll give it points for having an energetic opening, I guess. And I guess I can give it points for explaining everything about the game. You know, part of the fun in video games is figuring things out on your own. I mean, not to say that instructions aren't necessary sometimes, but this is a little extreme. So, I do not know what to say about this world. No, seriously, we got all these faces and eyes all over the place, sentient rocks, trees, balloons, and fire? Along with porcupines and ogres, I think, and whatever the heck else. And that's every stage. I mean, there's a face everywhere and it's disturbing. I mean, my god, how did this place come to be? No, this cartoon doesn't answer this question at all, since the very existence of this race of whatever they are doesn't justify their existence. Whatever. So, basically there are 10 sections with only 3 separate stages and a final stage. It's kind of weird, actually. Basically, you start with one stage and it's broken into 3 sections, but we'll get to those in a bit. So, the plot, yes, there's a plot, is basically inconsistent. The in-game and animated special story is more or less the same, albeit with different structure. Basically, Izzy is trying to get all the Olympic rings so that he may enter into the Olympics. The difference is the rings are physical objects in the game that are protected by evil guardians, while in the animated special they're earned by displaying what each of the rings represent. The manual in the game is completely different from those, however. Basically, it says that the rings are stolen, and if they don't get all the rings, the Torch world is doomed. Considering the fact that after 1996 and no one remembers this character, despite how stupid it is, I think it's safe to say that these Guardians succeeded. And unsurprisingly, the torch lit all the same in the year 2000. Either way, let's talk about the game. So, the first level is the Greek village, which has the Onyx ring. As previously stated, the game is a platforming side-scroller, and it's very bland. You jump on enemies, collect stuff, and yada yada yada. In all seriousness, this really is just par for the course when it comes to this generation in gaming, but this is cookie cutout. Bare bones that is functional most of the time anyway, but boring all the same. The game runs with pretty much the same consensus that makes Sonic and Mario, jumping on enemies and traversing through the stage's environment. On top of that, we sort of get a hybrid of the 2 aforementioned games' damage health system. In Sonic, if you have at least 1 ring or more, you get hit, you lose all your rings, and if you don't recover them and get hit one more time, you'll die. Izzy here can take 1 hit, and if he doesn't collect 3 Olympic medals before getting hit again, he'll die. Yeah, not really the best way to stand out from your competition, Izzy. Might as well get into his morphing abilities. When you collect these stars, Izzy will morph, or occasionally just manifest sporting equipment out of thin air. And we'll do this till the game no longer lets him use it or walk by a flag. I'm not going to bother asking why because I know there's no answer to that question. Honestly, what I want to know is if Izzy can manifest sporting equipment or anything related to the Olympics, so why doesn't he just manifest a 12-gauge shotgun for skeet shooting and just blow everyone away? He's not above shooting arrows or cutting them up with a fencing sword or beating them with a baseball bat, so why is this such a bad thing? I mean, Megatron transforms into a Walther P-38 handgun and it works for him alright. Now we're at the first section of this stage, and that's completely different, but it's still the same madness. Now, we have this Elder Challenge thing. Basically, we get to go to the stage where we get to rocket to the top of the stage, and my god, does this go on forever. Basically, you have to try and avoid running into anything, and you can only collect energy spheres or whatever to get to the end of the stage. Or don't. Yeah, by the way, you only get 1 shot at these stages. If you die, you merely move on to the next stage without consequence. You don't even lose a life. Well, there is a consequence, but we'll get into that later. The Greek Village 2. No different than the last. No, seriously, it's the same. We just do more morphs and it has a different structure, but nothing else of note, really. Seriously, I'm not trying to get out of talking about this, but there truly isn't anything that stands out about this stage. Well, I guess there is one noteworthy thing about this stage. In this stage, Izzy actually does a morph, and he turns into a hang glider? I guess? I have no idea. This is arguably the most common morph in the whole game, and at the end of this particular stage, we have to do this for a considerable amount of time as a glider. And it's not fun. It's easy, but it's slow and not for the right reasons. Just dodge everything and you control Izzy's speed and all that, so it's not that difficult, it's just a bit time consuming. Another space stage, or rather an Elder Challenge. This one called Spacewalk. Basically, this is a ladder stage. Just get to the top of the stage, no morphing, and don't get killed. You do that, you'll complete the stage, no problem. This stage is a little tricky though, because some of the jumping is inconsistent and it goes on forever. And it's actually pretty easy compared to the regular stages, which is saying something considering how the regular stages are fairly easy as well. And when you beat this one, at least one of these Spacewalk stages, you'll get one of the rings! Yay, progress! So now we're at the final part of this stage for the Onyx Ring. So I'm sure there's something big here, right? I mean, we get a title screen and everything, so this should be a nice change up. This is the same crap. No, seriously, you probably expected a boss fight or something, right? Yeah, there's no bosses or anything like that in this game. You've probably noticed all the eggs magically appearing all over the place with an occasional vase offering some random object. These are just random things, mostly medals or torches that are used for score and get a hit point or two. That's really all there is to say. Really, the only thing that makes this stage stand out compared to the other stages is that the stage ends with us collecting the ring with no resistance. Not even an elongated morph scene like the second part had. So now we have another rocket stage! Yeah, in case you haven't picked up on the pattern, basically after every regular stage you're given an Elder Challenge stage, alternating from the rocket stage and the spacewalk stage. And as far as I can tell, there's no real difference between them from the other Elder stages. Once again though, you got only one shot at this. You die, you don't get a second chance. So now we're at the second stage, which is apparently the lava dome, and for once we actually do get a big change in scenery. Now we are in hell? A volcano? I have no idea. You try and figure out this stupid world. I can't figure out what to even call Izzy's race. Torchians? Torchians? Anyway, now we are in a very different level, but it suffers from one of the problems that the Greek stages had. That being that I have no idea where to go. Yeah, I didn't delve into this point in the Greek stages, but a lot of times I struggle to figure out where to go since so much of the scenery looks the same as just the background / foreground. But this stage puts it to a whole new level. A good portion of this stage is running into walls and jumping blinding, hoping you'll progress to the end of the stage, since the foreground makes up most of the stage. Seriously, I'm jumping all over the place, and I'm hoping that I'm making progress since the stage requires you to jump back and forth constantly to make it to the next part. There is one unique part about this stage, however, and I still don't know what it is. Basically, while jumping into a random part of the foreground, I get transported into some random area, and there's a clock in the corner of the screen. And you collect stuff before the time runs out. I don't recall seeing this in any other part of the game, honestly. So, after all that, we're done with the stage. Progress! Then we're at another spacewalk stage. I guess I should just get this out of the way. Now, I've complained about how we only get one shot at these stages, but at the same time, these stages are largely the same, if not completely the same. Well, that's because these returns to these stages are essentially the second and third chance. But truthfully, if you get this done even only once, there's no point in doing it again. After you beat the stage and get the ring, there's no reward in beating the other spacewalk or rocket stages. So you can just die and move on if you wanted to. One thing I haven't really talked about is this falling thing. Kind of like Yosemite Sam, when he falls and he gets flattened, he can't do anything but walk back and forth. While there is no fall damage, it really can mess you up, and enemies will happily get you killed. Yeah, no pulling out pistols and shooting at your enemies. I mean, for crying out loud, I can play as Tails and use a shotgun along with the rest of the Sonic and Mario cast. Why can't this stupid thing do it? Whatever, let's just move on to the next stage, and we're at the Lava Dome Part 2, and I've pretty much explained all there is to explain about the uniqueness of the stage, honestly. Just trying to figure out where to go and get to the end of the stage, really. One thing about these stages, though, is they have these Torchican judges, I guess? I have no idea, and they'll either cheer Izzy or boo him. Not that it really matters. Does this mean that Izzy's attempt to get to the Olympic Games is being watched over, like, televised? Well, I guess when you're a race's only responsibility is to make sure the torch lights up every 4 years, then I guess there's not much to be excited about. Look, I'm sorry, but I'm still trying to piece together some kind of universe out of this garbage. Nothing makes any sense. Towards the end of the stage, we are introduced to a new morph, however. A javelin. And it's irritating as all get out. Despite being a pointy object, traveling fairly fast, you get killed running into enemies. Even though just jumping on them doesn't hurt you at all, but whatever. And this is surprisingly difficult. You know Disney's Aladdin on Genesis? That stage with the carpet escaping from the Cave of Wonders? This is essentially the same thing, except that was actually kind of fun, albeit kind of tricky. This is not. While you can control the speed of the javelin on some level, you still move fairly quickly and pretty much are reliant on memorizing the stage, as well as just luck. Because unless you intentionally miss the speed boost, you're pretty much not going to get past it at all. So, after that, we are on the last rocket stage, and I blow it. I actually did get pretty far this time around, but I still didn't make it to the end. Oh well. Last of the lava dome stages, and we're not entertaining it any more than we have to. Seriously, it's the same thing we've been doing for the last lava stages. One thing I haven't talked too much about is how much this game stutters. I mean, this game slows down a lot. I want to say it's because stuff is going on, but the rocket stages play pretty smoothly actually, and they don't slow down really at all. And it's not like this game is doing anything graphically impressive. There are other Genesis titles that are far more impressive, and they don't slow down this much at all. We do get 2 unique morphs though. One of them is a hammer morph. That's what it says in the manual anyway. Either way, it's basically a chopper helmet, and nothing really more to say about that. There's only one thing that makes this stage stand out, and that is the end of it. Basically, Izzy morphs into a skateboard. What? I don't recall that being an event in the Olympics. Maybe because it's the 90s, I don't know. At any rate, this is almost like the javelin part of the last stage, but we're on the ground and the air. Same point too, you have to memorize the area to some level and trying to stay consistent with all the medals to get through it. While definitely not impossible, you'll probably need to use a couple retries. God knows I did. And we get the Emerald Ring! Spacewalk 3! Already talked about it. Moving on. So now we're on the final stage for the Amber Ring. Exit to Atlanta, Part 1. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the final stage anyway. Anyway, I'll give it points for being different from the others by looking like Ooze, that Action 52 game with just better graphics. Like seriously, this is what the exit to Atlanta looks like. I've been through Atlanta, Georgia, okay? It doesn't look like this. And if the Torch World is real, what do the other exits for the other Olympic Games look like? This stage is really easy, actually. It's mostly of a free-for-all until the end of the stage, but it's relatively easy in comparison. Kind of a break. There's no unique morphs or anything, just jump all over the place and you'll get through it pretty easily eventually. One thing about this stage though is the fact that it has this border around the screen. It cuts off part of the stage and I don't get why it's there. I don't really get it because it's annoying. Can't say when I play a video game I want to have a completely unnecessary border around the game. This is a Genesis game, it's already in 4:3 aspect ratio. I don't need a further border. Towards the end of the stage, we do get something sort of different. It's a tongue diving board thing. Since everything has a face, it's just as disturbing as always. Izzy will dive downward, then upward, and then we get the final ring. Actually, not quite. I'm assuming that since I never beat one of the rocket stages, I didn't get all 5 rings. Therefore, I got a valiant effort for trying. So if I want to see the true ending, I had to play through the whole game again.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that.
No, we're seriously not doing that. Izzy's quest for the Olympic rings is a pointless game that was a very poor substitute for an actual Olympic game. I wonder if they knew that because they actually did release a standard Olympic video game for all consoles that Olympic year. And for what I understand, Izzy isn't in any of them. And with good reason. Either way, this is just a bland, somewhat confusing side-scroller that has little relevance beyond the look back at an Olympic sporting event. And nothing more.
Come on, run away. You don't have to stay. We're nearly out of time, but you're doing fine. So stay on track and don't look back. Just feel the pace. Come on now, race. Everybody supersonic racing. Try to keep your feet right on the ground. When you're supersonic racing, you know